Okay, once you have your LDR motion machines table set up, leveled, full of water if it's a water bladder system, control box attached, and all the wiring terminated, start up the control box. Control box has to be on to start the control program. Next, you would click on the LDR icon. There will be several of them, depending on what options you purchased or didn't purchase at the time. This particular case, I'm going to use the simulated, which means I have no hardware attached. CommandCNC control software is going to start up. You can drag the screen to fit your size, whatever size you're comfortable with, or you can go full screen. First thing you'll notice is we have an e-stop active. Now, we can't do anything until we click this button. That's for safety reasons. We want to make sure that a human is sitting here at the machine, the computer controlling the machine. So we're going to click the e-stop active. Now we're able to jog the machine and home the machine. Down here is our dialog box. This is how the software communicates with the user. It says it's ready for homing. We must home the machine, all 3 axes, before we can do anything else. It needs to know where home position is. I always like to home the Z first, although as long as your torch is high enough up that it's not going to collide with anything, you can home in any order you'd like. So we're going to home the X, home the Y, and home the Z. This is going to make the gantry move to a known position. It's a switch closure, and then it'll back off very, very slowly until the switch opens back up. Alright, to jog the machine, you use the arrow keys. Page up and page down moves the Z axis up and down. The left and right arrow keys moves the X axis, left and right. The up arrow and down arrow moves the Y axis. Away from you, meaning the up arrow. The gantry will move away toward the rear of the machine. The up arrow, I'm sorry. And the down arrow will move toward the front of the machine. You can see that the live display shows you where you've moved and where it is now. The top up here is where we open our files, our G-code files. We have auto, that's what's going to where the G-code is going to actually load up. Under the manual tabs, we have 2 specific programs we can use pre-programmed in. Z touch off commands the Z axis to go down until the torch contacts the metal and the switch closes, and then lift back up. Load material, when that's clicked, will go to these designations. We have them pre-programmed in our machine depending on the size of your machine, which is always the Z lifting all the way up, X going all the way over to 0 point, and Y going as far back as it can so that you can assist in overhead loading so you don't have to slide material under the torch. MDI is direct input. You can type G-code into here and then run it. The tabs over here is live view, is the actual G-code will show up as a drawing in here, and it will show you where the machine is at. THC settings are all torch height control settings. Within this tab we have multiple other tabs, our motor tuning, our DTHC settings, and the cut settings. These are all preset when you purchase an LDR table. Just be aware that they are there in case we need to make changes if you have any tech problems. Messages, this is just a log of everything that happens with the machine. It gives you, as so far, all that we've done is we've powered it on. Diagnostics. This is very important when you first get your machine. I recommend you come into the diagnostics screen and manually trip, once you take it out of e-stop, manually trip every switch by hand. Don't move the machine. Very important that the software sees the switch closure. For example, if you're homing and the switch is not working, or the wires became disconnected in transport, or something is not hooked up right, and it doesn't see it, it's going to continually allow it to try and keep moving, and it's going to collide, and something's going to get wrecked. So you would manually trip, and the little indicator there would light up for each switch. We need to make sure that they are all properly being seen by the software before we proceed. Here we have our run from line, which will be explained later, single step, run, pause, stop, all fairly self-explanatory. Feed rate override, as in the middle of a cut, you can change your speed. Reset brings it right back to 100%, which would be what you're commanding. So for example, if we're cutting at 100 inches a minute, we can speed it up, or we can slow it down, or we can set it right back at whatever it was programmed to. Jog speed is how fast the machine moves when we're jogging it with the keyboard. Again, we can reset that back to a known, which is 20%. We can zero each axis independently. So we can set our 0 points before we actually start cutting. This is all torch height control information over here. We can disable the torch if we want to do a dry run. We can turn the torch on and off. We can turn the DTHC on and off, and in the manual and automatic mode.